About balls with a new guest. Who are you? Why are you here?
Hi, I'm Luke Peters. Big fan of the show. Wanted
Uh huh.
to come on in.
So, this is a little bit different to what we're doing usually. This is one of two episodes we're doing this week. I'll be back with my good friend Wayne coming up, but we had some things to run into. So this time we're going to do some general discussion, not really related to too much of what's really happening, just some general stuff, some general debates, because we have too many times just gone in and looked at this thing happening this week and blah 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 blah, and not like the whole landscape of a real sports debate. So what we're going to include is what's the best postseason in sports. LeBron or Jordan, one of the biggest debates in all of sports. He's a Steelers guy, so I got to get him involved with the Pittsburgh Steelers. What are they going to do this year? Women's March Madness is out of control right now. He's got some opinions on some of the teams. Zach Edey is boring, but he's good. So there's plenty of stuff to talk about. But Luke, the opportunity to be on the greatest sports show of all time doesn't come off and happen many times. What's your thoughts on being on this show?
Oh, grateful to be here. Very excited to get to be a part of the discussion. Watched the show a bunch of times, so exciting to finally get to actually be a part of the discussion.
All right, let's dive right in. I'm not going to go easy on you either here. LeBron James, Michael Jordan is our first debate here. Like I said, this is a more of a mundane conversation for a Monday. Haha, usually you laugh at those. Just kidding. But LeBron James, Michael Jordan, and I brought this discussion up because, of course, it is probably the most prominent debate ever in American sports. But I know you'll probably go somewhere and I will go elsewhere. So, first off, the general question, who do you have?
I mean, might be the old head in me. I know I'm not an old person.
You're 18 years old, my
I know,
goodness.
but
You need a walker to get in here.
obviously not the biggest NBA fan, but I have to go Michael Jordan.
Yeah, I like when you start out a debate just taking your credibility out already. That's where you know you lost.
Pretty much, yes.
I don't know much, but so I've already won, basically. No. I'm taking LeBron James, and I'll tell you why. First off, when we talk about this debate, if you are a LeBron guy or a Jordan guy, the other guy sucks, right? We're talking about, if it's not Jordan, it's LeBron as the greatest player ever. So whoever it is at worst second, which I want to start off by saying they are both incredible. But I'll tell you why LeBron James is number one. People think Michael Jordan's career started in 1991 when he beat the Lakers. But in 84, 85, 86, 87, 89, and 90, he lost in the postseason like LeBron James did. I'll give you a little thing here. If Michael Jordan played the Golden State Warriors, those Warriors teams, 4 times, how many series does he win against them?
2.
2. You think Michael Jordan wins 2 series against Golden State?
They're a very, very good team. I think.
You think he wins 2? He wins none.
With both Pippen and
No,
Rodman.
I'm saying. I forgot, my bad. Jordan on
in
the
his
Cavs.
spot. In his
Jordan
spot. Okay.
for Bron.
Okay.
I think they win 0.
I think he goes even with Bron.
You think he gets 1?
I think he gets 1.
So you think Michael Jordan can come back from 3-1 against a 73-9 team?
I think if you compare, they're very similar style players.
They're not very similar style players. I'll stop you right there. And you come on the show, and I tell you right now, I'm not going easy on him. It's his first time here. Michael Jordan was a score-first guy. LeBron James is not even a score-first guy at all. Score-second type of guy. He's 3rd or 4th all-time in assists. They're not even close to the same style of player. LeBron's a couple inches taller. He's a couple pounds bigger. Of course, they score a lot. But LeBron James is a better rebounder and passer, and Jordan's better on defense. They're not even close to the same player at all. So when I say LeBron is the GOAT when talking about the series against Golden State's, against the Spurs and all those other teams he's played against in the finals, the Heat, it's not just when Jordan played, it was a one-person effect. Michael Jordan's going to beat us, okay? The Cavs with LeBron, if LeBron beats you, that means he's getting Kyrie involved, and Love, and Corver, and JR, and Iman Shumpert. So I'll let you keep finishing, but it is blasphemy, absolute blasphemy, that you say they're even remotely the same player. Keep it going.
Okay. So, I mean, you look at Jordan. He's a very puts the team on his back. He'll come out there and he will practically carry the team by himself. He'll go out and you know that he's gonna put up record numbers every night. You know that
like breaking the NBA all-time scoring list, like that type of records, right?
that's because of the longevity of
is that a
LeBron's
bad
career.
thing? That's a bad thing, having longevity. Where was Jordan at 39? Where was Jordan at 38? Where was he at 37?
In my opinion, that is probably the strongest argument against Jordan, is the fact that LeBron did survive much longer and is still one of the best players in the NBA. So that is probably the strongest argument against Jordan is his longevity.
I'd have to agree with that one, but you mentioned a statement that Jordan puts the team on his back. I want to go back and these numbers are within a couple of games, but 2009, LeBron and the Cavs went 66-16. Okay, he left to go to the Miami Heat. They were the worst team in the league the next year. The Cavs were the worst team in the NBA. They had the number 1 overall pick in the draft. So they went from 66 wins and an NBA Finals appearance to the worst team in the entire league. If that's not being valuable, I don't know what is. So then he goes to Miami, who's a borderline playoff team. And then for 4 years, he makes the finals every single year in 4 years. Wins 2 titles with Miami. Goes to Cleveland, who in the span of 4 years had 3 number 1 draft picks while he was out. When LeBron left for 4 years, 3 times they were the worst team in the league. He comes to Cleveland, 4 straight more finals, NBA championship. All right, let's keep it going with the Lakers. We're kind of seeing this is not a fluke right now. He goes to the Lakers, a team that is florid, blah, 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 in a, I don't know what to call it, dismay since Kobe was there. Within 2 years, they're champs. This is no coincidence. And when Jordan left Chicago, they went from 57 wins champions to 55 wins conference finals exits. How can you justify that if we're talking about putting the team on his back?
It's a fair argument.
It's a fair argument.
It's a fair argument.
Okay, that is a fair argument. So, and it's tough for me because I'm a numbers accolades type of guy. And the accolades say Jordan's better, but you have to look at accolades with a grain of salt, right? Not everything is created equal, right? If we have next year, say in the NBA, 5 of the greatest seasons ever, okay? And a guy finishes 3rd in MVP voting that year. But then the next year after that, we have 5 bad seasons, and the guy finishes 1st. You can't value that MVP over the guy that doesn't have it. So Jordan, 6 titles, 5 MVPs, 6 finals MVPs. I understand that. But at the same time, you got to look at it all with a grain of salt. So that's my side of the story. I didn't want to go easy on him so far early into this, and let's see if you got a little bit more pushback as we get going. You need to yell at me as well. So March Madness is in the thick of it right now. It is the Final Four, and it's been one of the worst tournaments ever, in my opinion. It's a time where NBA playoffs are starting, MLB's starting, and the March Madness is going on. What is, out of all the sports, the best postseason in the entirety of sports? And there's some technicalities. I don't know if you can count the World Cup because is it a postseason? It's not.
It's kind of its own.
It's not a league and then playoffs, right? So can't count the World Cup or the Olympics or anything like that.
Right. I mean, myself is probably the most entertaining sport in masses in the United States. Most people know about it, of course. The NFL.
NFL
has the playoffs.
Okay.
Probably ranked number 1.
And I'm going to stick with March Madness, but it's living off past success for me. It's if you would have asked me this question from 2022 on, might have said the NFL playoffs. But the magic of March has kind of dwindled over the last couple of years, but it still holds its own because of the craziness or the madness of it. The fact that in 4 days, you go from 64 teams to 16 teams is incredible. And the NFL, the problem with it is every March, either this year with Oakland or NC State, we have a team that nobody is looking at, nobody's heard of, in the case of Oakland, makes a run and is now nationally recognized. In the NFL, there's upsets, but there's not
people
upsets.
still know.
There's not upsets at the magnitude, right?
Right.
Anybody can win anywhere in the NFL. The worst team can beat the best team in the NFL, and it's like,
But the worst
okay,
NFL
we'll move
team
on.
is still a very good
They're
team.
still very
They're
good.
not.
But when a 15, 16 seed wins in college basketball,
It's a big deal.
it's much huger. Great
Yes.
grammar there. But I think the thing of March Madness that makes it great is 4 games at a time from noon to midnight for 2 days, and then 2 games at a time as well. There's so much, right? In the NFL, you're on one game and you can digest it, and there's commercials and you're waiting, and it's fine like that. But in March Madness, there's no time to wait. There's no time to think. You could have 2 games going bang, 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 and it's the craziness of it to me makes it all that more special. And if you talk to me in 5 years, I might have a different answer because the tournament has dwindled a little bit. Because this year is the year of the most favorites, and I mean credit to them. UConn is amazing. That's why they're making the tournament so boring. I mean,
Yeah,
they're winning by so much, and you can't blame them. But the Final Four, they won by 25.
I mean,
right?
it's either 8 or 9 March Madness games in a row.
Yeah, going
that
back,
they've won double digits.
they've won by the worst win they've had since they won it last year, 13 points. I mean, that's the worst win, and they're playing Alabama in the Final Four, which I don't know if that's going to be all too close. Alabama can't defend a nosebleed. So for me, March Madness is hanging on. And if it's not March Madness, I'd probably say the NFL playoffs. And then if you ask me this come, say, 10 months from now, I bet about 90% chance I would say it's the college football playoff, new 12-team format.
It'll be an interesting sight to see.
Just because, and it's nothing the tournament can do or any type of thing can do. It's just, I like football more than basketball, right?
Right.
Like people always rave about the NHL playoffs. I'm never going to watch because I'm not a hockey guy, right? So it's nothing that they are doing wrong. And I love March Madness, but the problem with it is I'll watch college football every week. I'll know the players. I know what it means, right?
Right.
Players like in the Final Four, I probably know 5-10 players, which like in college football, it's something I've known more about. So do you think when college football has their 12 teams, it will be bigger and better than March Madness?
To be honest, I mean this fall, I think for sure. I think everybody's going to be very excited to see this new playoffs. There, of course, in the past, you can't lose more than a game all year, or else you're done. Like there's no leeway at all. So, yeah, I mean, you could say the best team wins, but if a team has 1 or 2, 3 bad games, and that like say they had injured players, they're out. There's no opportunity to come back. And I think that this 12 seed playoffs, I think there's going to be a couple teams. I don't think it's going to be like March Madness. I don't think you're going to have these crazy upsets. I think there will be that team that had an injury-prone season, lost 3 games, and was still one of the best teams in the country. And they're now going to have an opportunity to chase a championship, which I think will definitely make it more exciting. And of course, at this point, I mean, before the college football playoffs, we all got excited for New Year's Day. We all got excited for the bowl games. Winning the Rose Bowl was a really big deal. Winning any of the bowls was a pretty big deal. Now, I mean, that's pretty much died off. All the players, the other thing is, people want to sit down and enjoy a whole day of college football. Everybody's opting out unless they're in the playoffs. I think this will, even if there isn't so many, even if it's not that different than the bowl games, it's gonna give better shows because people aren't gonna be opting out as quickly as they were with the bowl games, because like everybody wants to be a national champion. So I think it'll definitely, the best players, there'll be a lot more very good players playing come January compared to currently, which at least for the first year will make it more exciting than March Madness. Of course, we'll see how it plays out. I think it definitely has the opportunity to outplay March Madness.
I think it has the beneficiary of being the first year, being new. So everybody's going to be in love with it while it's new. I think it'll even itself out in a couple years. But my problem with March Madness is that I watch a little bit college basketball in the regular season, but very, very little. The problem with it is it waters down the regular season so much that we're caring about mediocre teams.
Right.
When in college football, we're going to be caring about 8, 9, 10, 11 best teams in the country on that bubble, which is a lot more exciting to care about than the 22 and 13 team that's not that good and it's probably going to be a first or second round exit.
Right. I mean, like, to be top 12, of course, there's going to be those teams that lose 3 games and still can sneak in because they're a very good team. But it's, like you said, going to be a lot higher caliber teams. You're not going to, and it'll give more to play for in the regular season. I mean, NC State, what was it, 8 and 11 regular season? It was
In the
very,
ACC.
very low. And then all of a sudden they go on a big run. They're in the Final Four.
Yep.
I mean, it's exciting, but like you said, it discredits. And I feel like it belongs in basketball because of, I mean, the craziness of it, because of how many games there are.
You know, I'm not saying it's bad, but I mean, it's there. It has its flaws.
Right. And I mean, like, in football, I feel like it's a lot easier to follow one game a week. We sit down, we watch. Every single week matters. Your team loses 2 games, 3 games, they're done. So it's definitely a lot easier to follow. I mean, I hardly watch basketball, especially college basketball, outside of March Madness, just because you sit down and watch a game and it feels like it doesn't matter.
Yeah. And what I also like about this new college football playoff coming up to 12 teams now is when you get late in the season, there's going to be 50, 60 games on the schedule. About 5 of them are going to actually matter in terms of actually team that can make the playoff is not favored by 25 plus, which now you get late in the season, 8, 9, 10 games are going to matter, that you're going to probably have 2 games mattering each window, the noon, 3:30, and 7:30 windows, that it's going to make it more interesting in the regular season that, you know, sure, a 2 seed, the number 2 team might play Rutgers, but is that a big game when they're favored by 33.5? You know, so it's going to add more impact throughout the season. And the bad problem of it is instead of focusing on the 4, 5, 6 seed in the bubble, those are the better teams. We're just going to kind of move it down to 9, 10, 11, 12, which are worse teams. But those 9, 10, 11, 12 teams are still very, very good, and they're still good enough to give our time and watch them.
Right, and I would say that's the only true issue that I see of it, is that you're going to have, like, your team can go on a tear. They can be a top 3 team all year, and within those last 2 weeks, I mean, before, pretty much, you weren't guaranteed the championship spot until the last week. Sure, if you lost the last week, you still make it. But if you like undefeated all year, you're great. You lose 2 weeks in a row at the end of the season, you're out. You're done. So, I mean, I feel like it's going to water down the great teams a little bit towards the end of the season, because people are going to be like, oh, I don't want to watch the number 1 team. I want to go watch the teams that are on the bubble. But I mean, of course, it will make it more exciting. I feel like there's going to be more important games because there's 12 teams compared to with the 4 teams. Really, with 1-2 weeks to go, we know it's between, I don't know, 7 teams that could be bumped in and out. So it's not as large of a scale.
I like what they did that the top 4 seeded conference champions have a first round bye. So they, like, in a conference title game, it doesn't matter all that much if, like, say, a couple years ago, it was the ACC title game, is Wake Forest and Pitt, number 17 versus number 19. All it matters is who wins the ACC. Just you can get yourself a name thing. But now that a conference champion has an automatic bid, you win that, you're in, and then the top four highest ranked conference champions have a bye. I think it's going to add a lot more excitement to it. And I think the number one thing we haven't mentioned yet, home first round games, like a home playoff game in stadiums. I mean, Beaver Stadium, Bryant Denny Stadium in Alabama, Neyland Stadium in Tennessee.
We might see records for attendance
Yeah.
in this next 2 years compared to like other games. The national title game is the most important game. Alabama, Georgia, of course, their SEC championship game, it was a big deal. People came. But if that's a playoff game, you know how many more people are buying those tickets? I mean, it's going to be exciting to watch.
And being at that stadium, being with the fans, and because like you go to a neutral site, it's more corporate, it's more calm down. You go to Athens Stadium, not Athens, or Sanford Stadium in Athens, Georgia. It ain't corporate at all. They're cooking a gator head out there. They're getting their cookout going, and I think that's going to be exciting. And it's weird to say, but every stadium we go to for the playoff, that will be the biggest game that stadium's ever had.
Yeah.
Because they've never hosted, because it's always been, whether it was just the one national title game or the playoff, it was neutral site. So a stadium's history of 150 years, no matter what, this is the biggest moment the stadium's ever had, and I think that's going to add a lot to the sport.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking. The only thing that I don't love about the home team the conference champions getting a home seat immediately, I think it can be broken sometimes. I mean, the NFL could be broken too with this kind of same idea. You have Ohio State, Michigan. They were 1-2 seed this year. They come in 1 and 2 seed. Obviously, only one of them's winning the Big Ten championship, and you're going to go, and one of them's going to be an away game into the playoffs. So I think
maybe not.
In some ways, it could be broken, but in general, I think it'll create exciting.
Big Ten has gotten rid of conferences this year, so there's no more of conferences in the Big Ten. So it's all one.
Right. So
how the format will work is top 4 seeds have a bye. They don't play the opening weekend. Seeds 5, 6, 7, and 8 are at home.
Right.
9, 10, 11, 12 play away. So I mean, the 8 seed still gets a home playoff game, right? So if you're 1-2 and you play, you're not going to drop outside of 8, right? So it's a good format. It's something I think the fans are going to love. I'm going to love, and but yeah, we talked about college football for about 15 minutes. We were talking about March Madness. I don't know how that got there, but let's move on to this guy's Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers are a team that have made some moves. I don't know if it's going to move the needle, but Kenny Pickett is gone. Russell Wilson is in. Justin Fields is in. First off, before we ask the question, what do you like and what do you think of the direction of the old Pittsburgh Steelers?
I love the trade for Justin Fields. I think that it's going to be it has the potential to really grow. Maybe not a franchise quarterback, but we're gonna have the same quarterback for more than 1 or 2 years, and I think in order to really make a run, that's the missing piece currently for the Steelers, is to have consistency, have a set of normalcy in here. And I mean, Russell Wilson, obviously Hall of Fame quarterback. I think it's great that we bring him in. I think he's definitely falling off. He's at the end of his career. Who knows? He could go out there and he could be a top 10 quarterback. He could go out there, he could be a bottom 10 quarterback. We don't really know at the moment. He was on the Broncos, so I feel everybody, he was horrible on the Broncos. It was the Broncos. The Broncos, you could argue that nobody would have been good on the Broncos. But I feel really we have to point our direction more towards Fields than Russell Wilson. I hope that Fields can have kind of a reset year because he's went through it. I mean, you could argue that the Bears kind of did him wrong. He was on a horrible Bears team at the beginning. They're finally making trades. They're getting up there. And then right as it's like, ooh, we're going to have a first-round pick or whatever, number 1 overall pick, we could really make this team a contending team and give Fields like the final piece, and they remove him. And I mean, I can't blame them. It's Caleb Williams. I know obviously you take the best player in the draft, but I feel like Fields was just about to get his chance with a truly good team, and it was taken away from him. So I feel like if you give him a reset year and then you give him a consistent, better team to be with, provide him with more opportunities, we could see him do something good.
I got to disagree with that statement entirely. There's a reason the Pittsburgh Steelers have a streak going on of winning games. They do enough to be average. I'll tell you right now, average does not put trophies on the wall. And I understand the Steelers are one of the most successful franchises in NFL history. But the fact of the matter is, saying you are one of the most historically proud organizations and having rings in the past does not win you games now. Okay? Mike Tomlin is fine enough. He's fine enough, but we have not criticized him enough, in my opinion, because of you can always point back to winning record every single year. Ben Roethlisberger, Antonio Brown, and Le'Veon Bell. He had those 3 guys for 6-7 years, never made a Super Bowl with them. He, according to his roster construction and whatnot, has basically underperformed in a long time going back before COVID. Coming to COVID, of course, they have Big Ben and they go 11-0 and they fumble down the stretch, whatever. But the Steelers have not been in competition for a Super Bowl in 8-9 years, and I don't think you can settle for mediocrity when, if you look back at the past in Super Bowl champs, they're not a coincidence either. 2023, Mahomes won it, best QB in the league. 2022, Mahomes, best in the league. 2021, Matt Stafford had one of the best playoff runs statistically ever. 2020, Tom Brady, best of all time. 2019, Mahomes, best at the time as well. 2018, Brady, GOAT. 2017, exception, Nick Foles. And then you got Brady and everybody in there. It's no coincidence you need a QB to win. And the Steelers have this connotation around them that we're going to run the ball, we're going to play defense. That's really not the thing with the Steelers anymore. Maybe in 2009 and 2010, the defense isn't incredible anymore. Right? I understand with TJ Watt, but the metrics show them as a middle-of-the-line defense. And I think a main part, and this is backed up by nothing, by the way, so I'm just spewing nonsense. The Steelers' defense did great because the offense couldn't get going, and it just kind of shut both of them down, and they got into a slugfest. Is this an improvement? Yes, but I would think I had the Steelers as an 8-7 win team before this. I don't change it one single bit. Am I going to predict them to go under 500 again? Yes. Are they going to get over 500? Yeah, again, yes. Are they going to be 3-6 and then win 7 games and then lose in the first round of the playoffs? Yes. But isn't it? I ask you this: isn't it exhausting talking about the Steelers, knowing they're going to be good enough to be in that mid-pack, be in purgatory, and not make a run ever in the near future?
I mean, it definitely is. It gets old. You have other teams that you see they have a couple really bad seasons. In my lifetime, the Steelers have never had a bad season. Mm-hmm. But in my viewership lifetime, we've never excelled either. And it's definitely hard to see when, of course, it's where you're sitting from. It's hard to put yourself in other people's seats. But you see a team or a friend that has a team that loses a lot over a little span, but then they go and they make a Super Bowl. They go to a championship game. And you almost think, would that be better than being first-round exits every year? So it definitely, you could say it gets old that every year it's like, oh, well, we're not bad. At least we're not bad, but we're stuck in a cycle, I would say, at the current moment, and we haven't really made any huge moves in the last
long
chunk of time.
Yeah, last long time. they're in a tough spot because every year that you look at the roster and it's not a good roster, but they always turn it around and win enough games. And I know you don't hope for this, but sometimes deep down they're like, can we just win 3 games this year and get a high pick and try it? Because winning 9 games, winning 10 games, blah 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 blah. The Steelers have been consistently in the playoffs every year for a long time. Nobody takes them seriously. Come postseason time, nobody took them seriously this year. I don't think anybody's going to take them seriously next year. And I understand the stats say they haven't won or they haven't had a losing season in a while. And you're a big trends guy, right? Where if it didn't happen before, it won't happen again, which is stupid. But stats don't have memories.
Right.
Stats don't care what happened in the past. So I understand that the Steelers have been 9-8 or better since 2006. Does that mean it's going to happen this year? Probably, but no. Probably not, considering the Baltimore Ravens have gotten way better. They're a top 3 team in the league, maybe, third. Since he's going to get there with Burrow back again. Cleveland was a playoff team last year, and Deshaun Watson couldn't throw a ball to save his life. And Pittsburgh's stuck. Pittsburgh's there, right? They're there in the division, and it would be less of a problem if they're there in the division, but you're going against 2 teams at least, that have their guy for the next 10 years, and Cleveland is on the edge, and Pittsburgh, since Ben Roethlisberger, has been struggling around. And I've said about March Madness, they're living off past success. We say the Steelers as a stable, nice organization, but they hit swing and a miss with Kenny Pickett. They got to hit on either Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. And if it is Russell Fields, who do you think has the higher chance of starting week 1?
This upcoming season?
This upcoming year.
I would say 100% Russell.
I would say as well. Yeah.
I mean, you see how I don't think the Steelers right now want a running quarterback per se. We have 2 largely competitive running backs. We have
2 large running
backs. We have 2 running backs that are both top 30 in the league. Mm-hmm. And I mean, we need somebody that can throw the ball. And Fields has a lot of potential, but especially when you've been struggling for so long. And I would say neither of them stand out to me, but just from, past success, you look back and you say, Russell Wilson can throw the ball. He's had years after years that he can throw the ball. So I would say you can't really turn that down. And especially right when you made that trade, you're only getting 1-2 years out of Russell Wilson. So if you don't use him now, you're not going to use him. So I would say they're definitely going to at least try to go to Russell. But I think he will be the starter week 1.
I think it will be Wilson as well. But I will say Justin Fields would be my starter week 1 because we know who Russell Wilson is. And I've said this plenty of times, previous episodes with Wayne. In the NFL, I will 1,000% take a chance, a 20% chance of being great and an 80% chance of failing over a 100% chance of being good. If we look at it at face value, there are 31 losers in the NFL and 1 winner, right? You can make leaps and bounds, but, we say, the Lions had a great year, and they did, because we expect that they're going to get better and lead to a Super Bowl. Everything leads to winning it all, right? Winning your division's great and all, but there are 31 losers. There's 1 winner every single year. 1 team's got a trophy. The other 31 don't. Justin Fields has a lot more potential than Russell Wilson. That's not a shock.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
That is not a shock. At his best down the stretch last year, he played great. Russell Wilson is fine. Is he top 10? No. Is he top 15? No. Is he around 18 to 22? Yes. Is he 36 years old as well? Yes. Is he just going to snap back into Seattle Russ and be great? No. So Russ will be fine, and he will be just what the Steelers need. They'll win 9 or 10 games. He'll be okay. They'll lose in the first round of the playoffs. But that's the exact reason the Bears traded away Justin Fields. They have a 100% chance with Fields to be good or a say 30% chance Caleb Williams will be great, 70% he's a bust. It's not real numbers. I think about 60% he'll be great, but they'll take the chance because you want it. You have to take a chance.
You don't want to be stuck.
You don't want to be stuck in the middle, which Steelers have
Steelers,
failed at.
yeah, we're
so
stuck.
they're past that mark right now. But scared money don't make money. It's the same thing in the NFL. Give a shot with Justin Fields. Who knows, right?
Well, and 100% with. I mean, you look at the Steelers. You said they're in a tough position. If they make a big trade, if they take a big chance
With
on
what,
somebody,
without getting away their first round pick,
right? But so if they did try to make a move like that, they're too afraid of it failing because they are decent right now. So if they make a huge move and it doesn't go great, they're going to be under so much fire about why'd you ruin something that wasn't broken. But of course, we're kind of stuck at the moment. So it's not really ideal. But
yeah, they're in a bad spot. So let's move on. And for the first time in my life, first time in his life probably, I mean, you've lived 5 months after me, and maybe in those 5 months you saw Women's March Madness take off. Did you?
no.
Okay, so that's a shock there. But Women's March Madness tonight, I don't know if you know, but the big four, the 4 people I know in Women's March Madness are all playing today. Caitlin Clark versus Angel Reese, a rematch in the national title game. He's a huge LSU fan, loves everything about them.
They're my favorite team.
And then at the nighttime, UConn and Paige Beckers. UConn, the best all-time college basketball team, of course. And then USC with Juju Watkins. A doubleheader, the biggest 4 names in college basketball, all playing tonight. And I can't wait for LSU and Iowa. I'll be able to sit down and watch that one, hopefully. Caitlin Clark is electric right now. She's got a lot of deals. I'll talk about this one right now. The Big Three is a 3-on-3 basketball league. It's like retired pros, kind of, that just want to go have fun. Ice Cube, the rapper Ice Cube, is the owner of it. Offered Caitlin Clark $10 million.
I saw that, yeah.
$10 million to go play in the Big Three, which she can also play in the WNBA and then the Big Three in the summer. Is this something for Caitlin Clark where she thinks about it, or is it just whatever?
I mean, I feel like she definitely does it.
I think she does it, really.
I think she goes with the summer. I don't think she goes full time because my issue with that, of course, making a lot more money, but you want to make a name for yourself. I mean, you could argue too that nobody watches WNBA, but when you're an athlete, like I know with my sports, with any sports I watch in general, you want to play your sport. And when the sport changes a little bit, like 3-on-3, it's not true basketball. I don't think at this point in her career she wants to leave basketball. I don't think she wants to go
gimmicky,
away from the 5-on-5 basketball that she knows, that we all know. Like, I mean, if you give Kylian Mbappe right now, you give him double his salary to go play in a 6-on-6 indoor league. Do you think he goes and plays? I don't know. Probably not.
And Caitlin Clark, the WNBA base salary is $70,000. So it's a little bit more than the median salary from
pretty much
from an actual real person. Well, they're real people too. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. But
sure.
She's going to get a lot of money in endorsements, probably over $1 million a year in endorsements.
Right. So, I mean, it's not like she's going to be poverty if she doesn't take this deal.
And she has more leverage than anybody ever in the WNBA history. That if it's the Big Three or it's the WNBA, the number 1 pick is the Indiana Fever. They're going to take her. I say to them, I want this contract, $70,000, whatever. I want 10% of your team too. I want ownership in the team because I can promise you right now, if you look at the WNBA attendance, the Indiana Fever are not towards the top, and I guarantee you who's number 1 going to be next year in WNBA attendance, the Indiana Fever. Because if you ever seen the lines to Iowa women's basketball games in the regular season are through the roof. I mean, Caitlin Clark, I saw they had like a graphic. They went on the road for 6 games. Those 6 games on the road, different teams sell out most ever in a women's game, six in a row wherever Caitlin Clark went. So she has the most leverage ever for a women's athlete in basketball. But again, it's gimmicky, right? It's not really basketball. You made, with Mbappe and stuff, and the whole discussions, and it means something to people. I don't know if it means it to her. I've never spoken to her. You want to be sat at the table talking about status, talking about accolades, talking about being
Right.
one of the best. Like if Caleb Williams plays arena football and dominates, we're not going to compare him to the people in the NFL because he's not in the NFL, right? He's
Right.
not getting compared, and I think the status of the league is more important than the big three. And I don't know the complete things. I think it was just a pitch to kind of see what the public thinks. A lot of people do that, put out the idea, see what the public thinks, and then actually make an offer. But if it's $10 million and it's a summer thing, and for the longest time, and we've kind of gone close to it now, women's versus men's, right? In all the different sports, and I don't think anybody's arguing. The men are more athletic and whatnot, but the first time, I mean, we saw Sabrina Ionescu and Steph Curry in a 3-point contest, and it was pretty close. It gets them more publicity. Let's talk about LSU and
Oh boy.
a weird team, a team that is interesting. This is
A team that so badly wants to be the villain. It's
they have a coach, Kim Mulkey or something like that. Weird lady. She's suing the Washington Post and the LA Times because they came out with an article that she was sexist and racist to her players, and I don't know if she's an interesting person.
but of course then afterwards she's the first person to claim that there's so much racism against her team, sexism against her team. She
did the racism.
Why
you guys being
it kind of seems very
playing both sides?
Yeah, doesn't make too much sense when you hear all the stories about her.
Look, LSU, it's a team that you got to drink the Kool-Aid, right? And I like Kyle Busch. He's my favorite NASCAR driver. That's gibberish to you folks right now. He's an asshole. But the thing is, if you're a fan, you can kind of see away from that. Like people that are Eagles fans. If you're a fan,
yeah.
you see through all the BS, right? But if you're not, you're like what is wrong with these guys?
So
if you drink the Kool-Aid and you love it, you're okay with it. But LSU, when you take a step back, they're interesting. They're weird. Not weird, but a little obnoxious, right? I understand that. But I like it for college basketball. I like when people are mean and shove people around and whatnot. It sounds awful. I like when some players are a little bit dirty, right? And WNBA needs that. They need that. College basketball in the women's side needs that. Every dialogue and discussion around women's sports is go watch to support the ladies. Go support them.
Right.
When have you ever turned on a men's game and say, I'm going to support the guys today? You want to watch it because it's exciting.
Entertaining.
You're not supporting them. You're not trying to, So it's always, let's all be friends. You can't say anything bad. They're women. They're in the minority in the sports world. They need somebody to get pissed off at. They need somebody to get mad at that it's not supporting them. Let's go cheer on them to lose.
And I mean, you want to have an exciting game when you sit down and watch. And sure, I mean, you have a girl against a guy. The guy's going to win at the sport 90% of the time. Mm-hmm. But there's nothing that says that you can't have two women's teams put on an amazing show. Mm-hmm. But it just doesn't seem to happen that way in the current time. But I think there is huge potential for it to happen. Mm-hmm. It just currently, it's too friendly. It's too much about skill and not enough about, I mean, half the time your best athlete or a very, very good athlete in a sport, you don't say, oh, they're the best skill. You say they're the hardest worker on that field. They're the best, they're going to run that guy down. And sometimes it's, that he's going to get pissed off at the other team. That he's going to, cause problems. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, the women's sports have been lacking that.
I think it's, and it's worked so far. We're talking about them, right? Their whole thing is let's get people talking about them, and we're talking about LSU, and it's good to have polarizing. In the NFL, if you hate a player, you are going to watch that player play to cheer
Right.
on them losing, right? And when you see them have a bad game or anything, you like to see that because you
Right.
don't like them. It adds to the whole thing of it, and it creates for good discussion because some people say, "Oh, I like it. I don't like it. How can you like that guy?" Blah blah blah. But I think it's good. And sometimes the tone is different, right? That there's a show on ESPN2, Peyton and Eli on Monday Night Football. They like talk about the game, and if a player makes a mistake, they make fun of him. Ah, you suck. Which it's tough to do that in the women's game because hey, what do you mean you don't like women's sports and
Right.
whatnot?
It's very. You're walking a very thin
Yeah.
line.
So I think it's more needing for that to kind of be a little bit more on the edge, a little obnoxious, a little mean, because you can't all be all happy, giddy, and nice. I think LSU, it's a team you love to hate, which is fine. It's a team that some people say, I love watching them because they're whatever they are acting, and then some people here, I don't like them because however, right? So,
Yeah.
but the thing is, people are talking about them, and there's no such thing as bad publicity, and
And I mean, I'm sure to the general audience, LSU Iowa is the biggest game on tonight. Everybody's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, LSU Iowa." It's
I mean,
bringing a lot of fans in.
and they have history. I mean, you look at the Chiefs and the Bills. There's a reason that was the highest watched non Super Bowl last year, even though it wasn't the conference title. Mahomes, Allen have history,
Right.
right? Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese have history. They were in the national title last year. They don't like each other. It's nice to have a rivalry to where they want to go at it and they know it means something and it's not just artificially brought up. It means something over a year, over a couple years, and the chance for revenge. It's he loves his Hollywood stories.
I do.
This would be a great Hollywood story to see Caitlin Clark get the revenge. Let's move on to a 97'2" man from Canada, Zach Edey, 40 points and 16 rebounds in the win against Tennessee to move on to the Final Four. Purdue has shut down the choke artist allegations after their huge upset in the first round to win and move on against the 16 seed. Huge upset there from Purdue. Waiting for you to catch on to the joke. He's not going to.
I got the joke.
Just wasn't
I got
funny,
it.
huh?
No, it was not very funny.
So, Zach Edey, is he incredible at his sport? Yes. Is it less exciting because he's 7'4"? Yes. Should we take that away from him?
Yes.
No. Okay, it's the same thing with Wembanyama in the NBA. I understand he's 7'4", and I understand he has an advantage that not many other people in the league have. Doesn't mean you got to take it away from him. Is Edey going to be in the NBA doing anything? Probably not. But 40 points is 40 points. And is he unwatchable? Yes. He is so boring. He can't move. You draw him outside
just
the
lays the ball in the basket.
Yeah,
every time.
you draw him outside of the paint, he looks like a lost child at a grocery store. I mean, he can't do anything outside the paint. But in the paint, the little boom and put it in, he's great at, and he did it for 40 points.
And I mean, it feels like when you have a dad playing with his kids. You have he can just like, oh, you can't reach it, drops the ball in the net, it's a basket. But I mean, it works. So you can hate the guy, but I guess you can't take it away
If
from
it ain't
him.
broke, don't fix it. I mean, if I was 7'4", I'd do the same thing. And who cares if a guy on Twitter says I'm being wrong? I'd do it every single play. But the problem with Edey is he gets so many foul calls. This guy went to the free throw line 22 times. Yesterday? Yeah, yesterday against Tennessee. 22 times at the free throw line. And I don't think it's the refs favoring Purdue, but the guy's 7'4". I mean, if you're 2 feet taller than you're definitely mean. You're gonna, and if you're trying to block a shot and you're coming down, usually you come down on the ball. You're coming down at his shoulder, at his head.
Yeah,
so
right.
It's going to happen when a guy's 7'4", up there, in the clouds of Mount Everest.
And I'm kind of surprised that the refs don't. A lot of times when you see bigger players, like at any level sport, you kind of see the favoritism of like, oh, the big person pushes a small person, it's a foul, but if the small person pushes the big person, it's not a foul. And I think we're used to that in a lot of aspects. So it is a little weird seeing like, oh, he's the big guy. Why is he getting so many fouls? It's not like it's hurting him. But I mean, it's the right call. It does seem a little
I mean, you're gonna act.
odd.
You're gonna react to different things. I mean, if I shove you, you'll go a little bit farther than when you shove me.
Right.
I mean, it's relative. When you're 7'4", you need a little bit more force to kind of move them. When you're 6'2", so it's tough for the refs to see that.
Right.
But I mean, 22 free throws is a lot, and it is a problem. Good thing he's done with his 37th year of college. He can go to the NBA or Europe or whatever. He is so boring because he's at the free throw line and he's 3 feet away. And if you're over 65 years old, you love it. But if you're not, you don't love it. And I'm not a guy that just says, "Hey, let's shoot threes all the time." But get out of the paint once, just once, please.
I mean,
and he moves so slow, and it's okay. But he is
I
a
mean,
refrigerator on the court. He's
if he was in a skills, like if you had a skills competition, he would not
here it
even
is.
be in college basketball probably. I mean, he's
And the thing is, even if he was 7'2", which is still extremely tall, I don't think he'd be near as good. 7'2" is still very, but he has to be tallest of the tall.
he definitely. There's certain people who they can be as least athletic as they want to, and you're just genetically born like that. I mean, of course, everybody who becomes a good athlete, they had some sort of genetic power, but then there's those people that had to work for it, and then there's the people that kind of had to work for it, but kind of had to give it to them. But I mean, when you're 7'4", you don't even have to be able to run. I mean, it's pretty much given to you.
Interesting to see if Purdue wins and UConn wins, and that's the national title game. UConn has a guy, Donovan Cligan, 7'2". I think he's a couple pounds heavier than Edie. Be pretty interesting to see those Twin Towers go at it. Hopefully it's better than the last time they went at it earlier, a couple years ago, about 20. Let's move on to our final segment.
You
Caleb
talk
Williams.
About, NC State at all? Not
NC State. You want to talk
you
about
don't
NC
like-
State?
I know you don't like.
This
them.
is not
I
the
know
real
that's-
podcast. We have a real
Right.
podcast coming
Okay,
on Thursday
okay.
that will talk about all that.
Okay.
This is kind of the general discussion stuff. We talked about the playoff and whatnot. And finally, Caleb Williams, the number 1 overall pick. And I'll start by this. I think he is one of the best prospects of all time because every criticism on Caleb Williams, whatever it is, on Instagram or wherever, it's off the field. I've never seen one guy say, "Look at this bad throw by Caleb Williams." It's always, he's painting nails. He's kind to his mom. So, I'm not the biggest guy. I'm never going to paint my nails. They kind of look paint, not really. Never going to paint my nails. I'm never going to do makeup. But if a guy wins me a football game, I don't care if he worships Satan and throws his dog out. I don't care. Does he win the game for me? Is he a good player? That's all I care about. I could care less if he has makeup on. I could care less. He could have a devil horn and a skirt on. But if he's a good player in the NFL, I don't care.
I mean, I feel like the only slight argument against that is it matters. You're not just the only person on that team, and
Yeah, in the locker room,
the
some of
locker room
old school
does.
guys.
The locker room matters. I mean, you have some people come in and they turn around the team. They carry the team. There's people who it's worth to have on your team, even if they're not good. Like, I mean, they got to be good, obviously, but sometimes you can have a barely top 10 quarterback in the league, but if they can make the team rise around them, they can have more impact than a 5th quarterback.
Well,
I mean, it definitely.
The number 1 thing to make people like you in the league is being good. That outweighs taking them out to dinner, buying them a grill, if you're good, people are going to respect you more than anything. I mean, you could be a douchebag, and if you're good and you're respected, it doesn't matter.
But at the same time, if your teammates don't respect you, it does. It can.
The only problem I have with
create
Caleb Williams, is a lot of rookies are the little guy, and it's kind of a process wherever it is. You're a rookie. You aren't me. I've been here for a couple years.
Right.
Carry my bags.
Right.
Buy me donuts. Blah blah blah.
Right. Whereas he's coming in, he's
And-
like,
and
carry my bags.
Yeah.
He's like, it's
I
kind
don't know if
of.
he's going to be able to take that role as the rookie in the first year as kind of the.
And I mean, we've already
chaperone.
seen it. We've already seen where he's. A lot of it is people trying to create problems. A lot of it's people already hate him. But you can tell that he's walking in kind of like he owns the place. It's he feels like he can walk in and he should be respected just as much as one of the veteran players. And I think this goes two ways. There's only two ways for it to go. It either goes fine and everybody's like, yes, like you win us games, that works, or it could be not so fast, buddy. This is going to be a lot harder than you think it is. So,
And this is all speculation. I've never met Caleb Williams. I've only seen on a video. You don't really know people. There's not on cameras in a locker room to see how he's going to act, but it'll be interesting to see. But I think if Caleb Williams doesn't work out in the NFL, it's not going to be because he painted his nails. Even though Jared McCain did lose yesterday, and that's the reason why Duke lost, because he painted his nails.
it was.
That's
It was-
why, because he just couldn't make the shots.
I mean, you see DJ Burns' story with the whole come here. Yeah, that man is he's a very polarizing player too. But
DJ Burns?
No.
Oh. I was gonna say, what's polarizing about him? I don't
No.
think I haven't seen one person.
No,
say.
but I mean, freshman that one of the highest scorers in the tournament. I mean, he's gonna have a lot. He's gonna have a very good college basketball future ahead of him. That's for sure.
His college basketball future is over because he's going to the NBA. So
Yeah, exactly.
so there's no college basketball future.
Yeah,
there.
you know.
It's over.
I mean, when you're a freshman that plays that good, that's gonna happen. But
So that'll do it for this episode of Talking About Balls. We'll be here on Thursday to talk about the rest of our free agency grading. This was Luke here, probably the first time he's ever going to be on here for a long, long time.
Probably.
Enjoyed you on the show, sir.
Yep.
I will see you whenever I can, and we'll see you guys on Thursday.
Thank you.